Hi everyone, Angela here. So today I'm going to show you how to make an alcohol ink coaster very similar to this. So an alcohol ink is a special art material that you can buy, and it's typically a more expensive art material, and you can use it on ceramic tiles like we're going to use today. You can use it on glass, you can use it on metal, but today I'm going to show you a technique to get the same kind of effect but using Sharpies. So something you're going to need today is, if you have any, if you've done any home remodeling or something recently, you're going to need a ceramic tile, and the tile does need to be glazed, so it does need to have that smooth surface. It can't be unglazed, which is like what a rough back of a tile is. You need that smooth surface so that way the material we're going to use, the Sharpie, does not sink into the tile. Something else you're going to need is you need some rubbing alcohol, and it does need to be the 91% rubbing alcohol. The 70, I believe it comes in, it won't work for this, so if you have some of this, we'll be good to go. Something else, if you want to use a dropper to get the alcohol onto the tile, you can use that. If not, you can definitely use the top of the alcohol bottle. After you're done with your project, if you want to seal it so it stays on the tile, you can use a clear epoxy or a clear spray. Any form of clear spray gloss would be fine. If you wanted to make it matte, that should be fine too, as long as it's clear and as long as it'll dry well onto the ceramic tile. And you'll also need some color permanent markers. So here I have our box that we have here at the gallery, and you can use any color you want except for the black Sharpie. Unfortunately, it just doesn't, if you can see on this one, the black Sharpie is just sturdier. It's a stronger material in the Sharpie than the colored, so it doesn't really work. So any other color you want. I think today we'll go with some fun springy colors. And you do want to do the fine point, like this type of a Sharpie, rather than the super fine point. You can do this, but it's just going to take a lot longer. So we'll get our colors going. And you can do as many or as few colors as you want. If you can see, like this one, this person used some really light pastel colors, so you have some pinks, some purples, and some blues here, and they made this lovely tile. You can do more of a rainbow pattern like this one, or you can just do any colors you want to. So you would just take your Sharpie, take your ceramic tile. I haven't done anything to this tile, it's just straight as it came from the hardware store. And you just want to color in onto the tile wherever you want some of that color to come up in your finished project. Now wherever you're coloring on there, because we're going to add alcohol to it later, it's not going to stay in exactly the same formation that you're drawing in. It is going to run a little bit, so just try to remember that as we're going. And then of course, anytime you use a yellow or a lighter color permanent marker, when you overlap, it's going to pick up the color that's already there just a little bit. So if you have any markers that you just really want to keep super pristine, I wouldn't use them for this. Anything else, you should be good to go. And you can color the whole ceramic tile in, or you can leave openings like this if you want to leave some of that white coming through. Completely up to you. So I'll just keep working on my tile. And we'd love, like after the video is done, in the comments if you want to add some of your own that you're making. If you happen to get around to doing this, it would be super fun for us to see. Let's see, maybe some bright colors. Just about there. Okay. So I've got lots of different colors on here. So now what I'm going to do is I have my ceramic tile. If you want to put something underneath your tile, if you happen to put too much alcohol on there, that's fine. Just remember that the more alcohol you put on here, the more the colors are going to wash out and dilute. So you will get a lighter color like this. If you want to get a more vibrant color, you want to just be really careful with where you're placing your drops. And just watch them go. It will just take a little bit for it to move around, but you can see how this one has started to spread with the alcohol. And again, this is just the 91% rubbing alcohol. some of it might come off. So I'm going to let these go for just a little bit before I add some more. You can see they're really spreading nicely. And since you're closer, I'll show you here. The one I was talking about earlier, if you want to use the black, it does give this nice marbled effect, but again, it's harder to get it to come off the ceramic tile because it is a stronger pigment in that black Sharpie. So it does really wash it out, but it's completely up to you. And you can see how the one I was doing, it's really spreading out. So I want some more right there to dilute that pink. And if you want to leave the edges of where you did your Sharpie lines, that's completely fine. But I want some in there to kind of dilute them, to kind of hide my marks. You can see how the lighter colors are really blending with the darker colors and it's creating this nice marbled effect. And that's how it's very similar to an alcohol ink, not just because we're using the alcohol to do it, but when you're using alcohol inks, it gives that nice effect on the outside of the perimeter. So that's super fun. Okay. So now what you would want to do after you've got your Sharpies done and you put your alcohol on there, you want to let it sit. So don't wipe this off. Don't take anything and try to pat it down. You just really want to let that alcohol sit on there. It will evaporate fairly quickly because if you go and wipe this off, it's just going to wipe straight off the ceramic tile. So after this has dried, that's when and it might take a couple hours for it to really get dry. If you go and touch it, just be really careful around the edges. Because you don't want to wipe off anything that you've done on your tile. So after it's dry, that's when you'd come back in with your clear spray and it really just set everything on top of that. You always want to try to do this outside. You never really want to do this inside. It does have some fumes and it's just safer outside if you happen to get any on, the ground or on the grass. It doesn't really matter. And something else that you can do is after your tile is done, after you've sprayed the top, if you have a low temp hot glue gun, you can take some of that and put it on the little corners underneath to kind of create little bumpers so your coaster will sit and it won't really scratch anything it's sitting on. And so that's one, and you can keep doing it. You can make 4 if you want to make a set, just however many you would like to do.